Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are, how you might be watching slash listening. They can make us part of your day. We are the Hockey Podcast you're about to hear. I am Justin.
I'm Alexander.
And Alexander, did I tell you I tried using my discount card to scrape off my windshield?
No.
Yeah, didn't work so great. Only got about 20% off.
Hmm.
Little joke
Hmm.
there for the folks that have to deal with ice on the windshields. People in the South would be like, what? What are you talking
Hmm.
about?
If anybody is listening to this podcast from the South, please drop us a comment on our YouTube page. I'd love to hear from you and ask you
Yes.
one simple question. Why?
Fair. Which comments should be working, by the way. Which also reminds me, if you have anything you wish to comment, you know how we talked about, or have something that you want us to talk about, please feel free to comment. And yeah, should be good. Should be good to go. So, on that note, where should we start?
Let's make it simple this time. Let's just start in the East and start in the Metro, just the way it's laid out on my screen.
Hey, I like that. I like that. So, before we get too far into the Metro, I think we should bury some teams.
Well, I got my shovel right here next to me, so I'm ready. How many graves am I digging?
We dig in two this time for the Metro.
2 graves, okay. I
Mm-hmm.
might just dig one and make it 12 feet deep.
Yeah, there you go. Easy enough.
Which is the first one going down at the bottom of this grave?
I would say probably New Jersey.
Well, the devils may go spend time with the devil as they are now
That's
dead.
indeed. And joining them, who else you got?
I would say we probably should throw Philadelphia into there.
Hey, bye bye.
Two teams that I would say was starting the year were playoff bubble expectation teams.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are still a month from the trade deadline, and
Mm.
it has not gone well.
No, it has not. Has not indeed. But we can talk about a team that has gone well for. If you want to start off with Carolina.
Oh, Carolina. While you may not currently be leading the Metropolitan, you have the best points percentage in the Metropolitan. You continue to
Whew.
play well, you continue to play good teams well, and that's really what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So good on you, Carolina. You are going to be a force to be reckoned with come this spring.
Oh yes, a plus 52 in the goal differential. That's whew. That's pretty good. Pretty astounding.
It is, and even in their goals against, differential is great, and but their goals against is like one of the tops in the league. Like they don't allow much, like at all.
Yeah, which that'll be very helpful come playoff time. Can you get him in and can you keep him out? That's what you got to look
Yep.
for.
So look at that. Freddie Anderson having a Vesna caliber season once he left Toronto.
Sorry.
But that's none of my business with the Kermit the Frog meme.
Exactly. Perfect usage. I like it. So, yes, I agree. Very good on them. Should be exciting once playoffs roll around and see what they can do.
Yep.
All right. So
Roll Tide.
next team on the list. Yeah, Columbus.
Columbus. Well, guys, you avoided the grave for one more podcast
They are sweating it a little bit.
because they are sitting on the ground next to our current grave.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they haven't been they haven't been terrible this year, but they haven't been good this year. They have been
Yes.
basically exactly a 500 team, which is basically what they are right now, and never too hot, never too cold, just there,
Yeah, I agree.
and that's not good enough.
No.
Not
So
not not for not for a playoff team. For where
no.
they're at right now as a team, that's probably right where you would expect them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even a little bit above because a lot of people thought that they would finish dead last in the Metropolitan, which they still could.
Yeah, they got a little bit of season left, a little bit of runway.
But for the way things are looking right now, I'd say they're going to finish maybe above expectation. Yeah, because
Eh,
I'd have to go back and look at how I thought the season would go, but I'm pretty sure Columbus was one of the bottom couple teams in this division.
I think so. Yeah. So.
But I think I also had the Islanders as my Stanley Cup champions, and well,
Oof. We'll get to them in a couple teams here.
so I think we just label Columbus with just a bad, which
Yeah.
is expected, and moving on.
Alrighty. So moving on brings us to the Rangers.
I'd say the Rangers are good.
I would also say they're good.
They're another top team in their division. They're a little bit back behind Carolina, but they're still better than the vast majority of the rest of the league. They're probably in the top 10 teams, I would say. Probably right around that line of being in the top 10 teams, depending on how you metric that. Whether
Right.
you just go based off point percentage or how you actually feel the team is actually performing. Um, Now, are they a playoff like threatening team? I mean, they'll make the playoffs, but are they like a Stanley Cup threatening team? I'm not sure I'd go that far with them yet, but
Right.
maybe I might end up eating my words. But still,
Hey, I mean, it could be worse words to eat. So
it's true.
yeah,
But no, I would give them a firm stamp of a good.
I would affirmative on that. And then that takes us to the other New York team of the Islanders.
Uh, Bad, maybe getting a little better, but still very bad. No,
Yeah,
are they ugly?
I'd say
Given where
ugly.
they should have been, I think they're ugly.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Is given who's behind the bench and what they did last year. Ugh, what is going on? A minus 14. Ugh, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, for them to be giving up goals at the rate they do on a Barry Trotz team is just
Yeah,
it's uncharacteristic, some would say,
right.
and that's too bad.
It
That's too
is.
bad.
It is indeed. So, gonna rinse and repeat and try again next year. See what happens.
Yep.
All
See what you can
right.
sell at the deadline.
Exactly. Stock up and try again. Alrighty. So yeah, definitely ugly for them. But now we got down to Pittsburgh.
Well, I don't think we can talk about Pittsburgh without mentioning that tonight Sidney Crosby scored his 500th career goal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
good.
Poor Frege.
So if you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Penguins or Sidney Crosby or the state of Philadelphia or hockey history,
There you go. Hockey history. Yeah.
I'm sure it was a good night for you.
Right.
So
Something to celebrate.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if that game's over yet. I think they were going to overtime. Oh yeah, Pittsburgh won it in overtime.
Hey, what a surprise. Was
So
it
whoopsie
Crosby's
doodle.
500th goal that bumped him over the edge?
No, it wasn't. He got that early in the game. They were down actually like 4-2 towards the end of the game, so they must have
But if
pulled
you
the
hadn't gotten that
goalie,
goal,
pulled some
ooh,
heroics, yada
yeah,
yada yada yada,
mm-hmm.
all that annoying stuff that they tend to do.
Exactly. But still, I guess I have to tip my cap to him. But yeah, here we are. When he retires, that'll be a good day. Then I'll acknowledge it. But in the meantime, while we're watching it,
Yep.
all right. So a good stamp for them, and then that leads us to our final team, Washington.
So this is where we kind of have to decide when it comes to good, bad, and ugly. If you were a team that was at the top of your division last month and you're fourth in your division this month, is that bad or is it good because well you're still a playoff team?
Oof. I mean, given their
Because I feel like
circumstances,
I feel like they've had a bad month.
yeah. Ooh, yeah, 4-6 in the last 10. That is a little ugly, but you know, everybody's allowed a bump here and there in the road because it happens.
So maybe they're just kind of coming back down to earth to where about we thought they'd be.
Mm.
Like I'm not surprised that Carolina's at the tops of the division. I'm not surprised the Rangers are doing well.
Yep.
The fact that Washington was up there for the longest time was kind of surprising, and a lot of that was just Ovechkin playing out of his mind to start the
Yes.
season.
Holy smokes,
I, I,
yes.
I think that's come back down to earth. It's like Backstrom came back and Ovi didn't have to try as hard, and they're not as good of a team.
Wait, but that's not how that's supposed to work.
Now how he's
But
supposed to get his assists? What then?
exactly. So I don't know. I think the fact they're keeping pace, they got that first wild card, but they're what 3 points out of third place, taking over the Rangers. So I don't know. That still sounds pretty good. What do you
Overall, it's
think?
still pretty good, but I feel like the last month has been bad. So
Stamp bad
I
on
feel
them.
like our I feel like our rankings have got to reflect like from last podcast to this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, no, I'm good with that. Stamp a bat on them and see what happens to them between now and the next cast, huh?
That's fair.
Alrighty, well, let's hop on over to the Atlantic,
Ooh.
and we'll start with Boston.
Oh, Boston. Oh. Well, I believe about this time last month, we were talking about Tuukka Rask was about to make his comeback.
Oh, that's right. That was only. Oh my, that was only last month, huh? Whew.
Yeah. And for those of you that didn't follow along, here's how that went. He came back. He didn't play well. He got booed by the fans. They called for his replacement by name. He got injured, retired again.
Yeah.
That's the Tuukka Rask story this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sad story.
It is.
I get trying to come back from an injury and seeing if
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, can I still do it? And then it was obvious he wasn't back from the injury. It he can't play at a professional level again, or at least not the
Mm-hmm.
NHL level. And so now he's actually retired.
Yeah, which that's a bummer. Does that mean to go out on terms like that instead of your own terms?
Yeah. Yep.
And then, yeah,
So
another.
I feel like Boston has kind of hit a wobble here. They're
Mm-hmm.
really not in any danger of losing their playoff spot, just the way that the East is stacked up right now.
Right. Yep.
You got Brad Marchand out here knocking sticks away from goalies, trying to flip it over the gas, and then punching that goalie in the head, and then high sticking that goalie in the face, and getting
Yeah.
suspended for 6 games.
Not his best move or idea, but
So yeah, it's just Brad being Brad.
All right. So do we award that an ugly since a big suspension and unfortunate retirement process, or what are you thinking?
I feel like for Boston, it's kind of been an ugly month,
Yep.
And isn't Bergeron hurt right now?
He is. Yep. So
So
yeah, things are
yeah,
not going
there's
well.
yeah, I don't expect them to fall all the way apart. Um, and so, be that as it may, they'll still make the playoffs. They just might not be. They might not be the team we thought they could be if Rask was
Yes.
healthy. He
Right.
came
Yep.
back and played well, and they were
Yep.
making another run at it.
Yep.
Um,
Say they better hope they play Toronto in the first round because who knows what'll happen if they don't.
there's, I don't see a scenario where they're going to play Toronto,
I don't really either. Looking at
but
standings, but we can joke about it.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So an ugly for Boston, and we'll go to Detroit.
I feel like it's been an even expected month in Detroit. They haven't. Here's what's been good in Detroit is the rookies continue to be phenomenal, and honestly, like there's guys like Makar, McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby at his peak, Ovechkin when he's on, that if you watch the game without any interest, you see somebody on the ice and you notice them, and you're like, wow, what did they just do? Wow, like you can't get the puck by this goaltender, or you see performances that are entertaining to watch, and you're curious of like, oh, this line's out there, so then this guy's probably coming on the ice next. I'm going to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening right now in Detroit anytime Mo Seider steps on the ice. This kid continues to push the expectation of what he could be every game because it's like, well, we think he could be a solid defenseman with some offensive upside. And then he plays 10 games, and it's like, we think he's our top defenseman, and he's probably going to take over the number one power play someday. And you play
Whew.
another 10 games, like, he is our top defenseman, and he's our top power play quarterback. And then you play a few more games, like, he's also our best hitter, and our best defenseman, and our best power play quarterback. And now he's also leading all rookies in assists, and playing top power play, and our best defenseman. It's like, he continues to move the possibilities of what he could be constantly, and it's amazing to watch. He's fun to watch play. It's it's honestly like at this point, it's like sometimes like the highlight of my week is like, ooh, there's a Red Wings game. Most is
Yes.
going to be on the ice for 23 minutes again tonight, and those 23 minutes are going to be fun to watch.
Yes.
So that's the good in Detroit. There's really nothing ugly right now in Detroit, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, so for what they're supposed to be, which is again another bad team,
Mm-hmm.
they do give up a lot of goals.
Ooh. Ooh, yes, they
I,
do.
I would, I guess I'd have to say the cider good doesn't outweigh the rest of the overall bad. Um,
There's still, 30, 40 odd minutes that he's not on the ice.
yeah, yeah, he can't play them all like Hedman. So, um,
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah, I guess they still get a bad. I mean, they're under 500 this last 10 games. They still give up a lot of goals. They got. I watched the game a couple last night against Minnesota, and
Ooh.
they got so close to making the comeback. So close
Mm-hmm.
to making the comeback. I mean, they had it within one goal with like 2 minutes left, and then they gave up another two goals after that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's rough.
so it was the score looks like they got smushed, but they fought hard the whole way against a very good Minnesota team. So
Yeah, Minnesota's been rolling.
there's a lot of fight and a lot of life left in Detroit.
Which, that's a good thing. Good thing to watch out for and hope for the future.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, they're. I feel like they're going to be like the best team that doesn't make the playoffs in the East.
Mm-hmm. So they're sitting right outside that first wild card spot, right?
Yeah, yep.
So, but they,
But
they got a ways to go to catch Boston.
yeah, and I think but when once the year is over, I think we'll say Detroit had a good year. Like the
Right.
year as a whole will be a good year. Um, so
Yeah. So that's
that's
exciting for a
Detroit for
fan.
you.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, brings us to Florida.
Mm. Well, Florida, you are simply put one of the best three teams in the league,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
And that's great. You've only ever lost what, three games at home? And I think all of those have happened in your last
Oof.
10
Yeah.
games? A few games? Well, anyway. Um, no, they are a high scoring game, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to watch teams score a lot of goals. Are they leading the league in goals for? I think they are. The only one that would be close would be
Yes.
Colorado. Yeah,
194. Colorado's 190.
okay.
So,
With about equal number of games played. Okay, so
yep.
yeah, they score a lot of goals. And a lot of goals are fun to watch. So
Yes. Yes, they are. Well, if they're going in for your team, then yes, they are. Or
hmm
if you don't care, then yes, they are.
hmm I'm not sure as far as their attendance goes if they're letting celebrities back into the building yet or not. Um, but you know, I guess it's a party happening in Florida right now. So
Woo!
good on them.
Yeah, good on them. So, yeah, stamp a good
Enjoy
on them
enjoy the scoring on and off the ice.
and. Alright, I like it. So, we're gonna jump over to Ottawa or hit on some Montreal news.
Um, so Montreal finally has started to change the more things that need to be changed
Mm-hmm.
by letting go of a bad coach that really had no business being there, but the team got hot and therefore they ran all the way to the Stanley Cup final, and therefore you can't fire the coach after that.
No,
So they
you
had
really
to bring him
can't.
back.
Yeah.
Um, and so they're going to pay that coach for 3 more years,
Oof.
while they're still paying the coach that they fired last year. So they're currently paying three different coaches.
Oof.
And then, uh, yeah, they brought in Martin St. Louis to finish out the season, which is interesting because he's not like, oh yeah, he's been an assistant coach in New York for 3 years. It's this guy used to play 10 years ago, kind of
Right,
deal.
yeah.
So that will be an interesting experiment for Montreal. And then they're already starting to sell off some of their players. So
They
before the
are
trade deadline, they're
indeed.
like, you know what, Tyler Toffoli, you're out of here. Go somewhere else. Go to Calgary.
Go west. Go west, young man.
Yep. Uh, so Montreal, for being dead, is still a busy team, and also still very 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 bad.
Ooh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Um, they are. almost historic levels of bad. And again, depending on how far back you want to go, you can say, well, they have the worst points percentage in any team since the 1993, 94, so and so. Or you can be, well, they've won fewer games than this team by this point from such and such a year. Depending on how you want to stat it,
Mm-hmm.
it's bad.
Oh,
But
yes, bad.
it's when we say historically bad, we mean like the last 20, 30 years bad.
Yeah.
So
So, yeah, it'd be a while
sorry,
before they
Marco.
get things turned around. So, hopefully. But, yeah, for now, there's a reason they're in the graveyard.
Yep.
All right, so we'll bounce to the next team in Ottawa.
Ottawa, you're still just bad.
Yep. Bad, bad, bad. Flashes of
A lot
brilliance
of
here and there, but,
yeah, and a lot of that's a lot of injuries, a lot of key injuries to key guys and
right.
stuff, and some poor construction and um, yeah, I can't imagine playing in Ottawa and that province and the COVID restrictions and stuff that they've
Oh,
been under now
yeah.
for months is just like
That's rough.
it's hard. It's harder there than elsewhere.
Agreed.
So
Maybe next year.
sorry, Ottawa.
Yeah.
Maybe next decade.
Oof. Big oof. All right. But you're probably not wrong. So, Tampa Bay. How are we feeling about them?
Oh gosh. Is there any reason why I would think this team wouldn't go on to win another Stanley Cup this year?
Not really.
I
Not really.
I
Because
don't
I
know what
predicted
they're
it,
going to
that's
be
why.
able.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to be able to add at the deadline with the cap situation and stuff. But I mean, the salary cap's fake because teams always find a way around it,
Right. Yeah,
as
no
we'll get
kidding.
to in the Western Conference. Um, but no, they continue to be a very very good team,
Just chugging
right
along. And,
near the tops of the league. Like, and again, if somebody goes down with an injury, it's like, okay, no
yeah,
problem. We'll
whatever.
keep winning games, and then somebody else will get injured, but that first guy will come back and be like, yep, no problem. They're just a very, very good team, solid defense, and when you have, should I say arguably, or should I just say the best goaltender in the league?
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think anybody will fight you on it. So,
and so much of any sport is confidence, right?
yes.
Like
Oh, yes.
pretty, pretty much the top echelon of guys that play hockey play in the NHL, and so what separates one from the next, from the next, to the next is oftentimes, are you playing with any confidence? And you come off of
Mm-hmm.
2 Stanley Cup wins, that team plays with a lot of
Oh,
confidence.
yeah. They're
There's no
Moors.
panic in them. There's no, oh man, we lost 3 games in a row. It's going to be a,
Meh.
what are we doing? Like, what's going wrong? It's like there's no ruffling their feathers. They're going to be there at the end, and I'm not really too concerned about it.
Yep. Neither am I. Neither am I. So, and last team to wrap up, Toronto.
Oh, little boys, little boys. Ah, Toronto, you crack me up.
Oh, yes. Toronto or the media surrounding Toronto?
Mm,
Well, both.
the Toronto Maple Leafs as a hockey club and surrounding drama.
Oh, yes, because it's always there.
It is, and it doesn't have to be if you would just be better. But you're constructed in a very strange way, and it's a way that I don't think other teams are going to replicate because it's a house of cards, and you knock one piece out and the rest fall down. Are they playing
Oh,
good
boy.
right now? Yes.
Uh huh.
Will they be playing good playoff hockey? No. Have they
Yeah.
played good play hockey for the past 20 years? No. So you haven't changed your problems.
Yeah, not really. Not
You
really at
you
all.
can't you can't pay 4 guys half of your salary cap and expect to win games in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Doesn't work that
about
way.
that. So,
Playoffs you need a bit of luck, a lot of health, a bunch of depth,
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
quite frankly, Toronto has none of it.
Yeah, but for
So
now, I'd say they're doing pretty good. So,
yeah, but yeah, for right now they're doing good, and huzzah! And they'll figure out a
indeed.
way to manipulate the cap again in order to get some help around the trade deadline, and it won't make a difference because
Nope.
you have fundamental flaws.
Agreed. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll get that one down the road. See if they can make it past the first round or not this year. But who knows?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Who knows?
alrighty. Anything else on the east then before we jump to the west?
Nope. I think I'm ready to jump to the west.
Alrighty. So in the central, who are we burying here? Did we say we were burying in the Atlantic, by the way?
The teams that we did not mention, which would have been Buffalo and Montreal.
Alright. So who we digging some graves for in the central then?
I would say probably go out in the desert and
Yeah.
shoot the coyote.
Uh huh. Go out.
And then I will not make any um, action violent remark against this other team because we will just bury the Blackhawks.
Yep. Good with that there. So, jump right into Colorado.
I'm not sure good is a high enough word for what Colorado is.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
this is a team that can lose Nathan McKinnon for what, like 3 or 4 games to a broken face and still go
Something like that. Yep.
9-0 in one in the last 10.
Yeah. That's
Like,
just
if you
insane.
can continue to win games without Nathan McKinnon, you are a stupidly strong team.
Yeah. That's just
So,
insane.
yeah, Colorado's the highest points percentage by far in the league. Um, and I know the regular season doesn't mean squat because you can still be
Nope.
bounced by the 8 seed. And this year, I could totally see an 8 seed bouncing the 1 seed again
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be interesting. What if honestly, what if round one is Edmonton versus Colorado?
Uh,
Like that's that's as good as Tampa Bay playing you know I don't know Toronto because that would be another great. Anyway, um, so it's a team that we know is really really good, and it'll be decided in the playoffs as to what their season actually was.
yep. Indeed. So, good for them. And how about Dallas? How you feeling about them?
Ugh, about like that. I, I don't know that I have a strong give a care about Dallas. They've been decent lately. They're starting to, I guess, make up some ground, but they started so far back that it's still hard. You still have a negative goal differential. Sure, you've won 7 of your last 10 games,
Which
but
that's crazy. I didn't realize that. But yeah, they're
you
gonna be
know,
hard pressed to get in. I think.
well, and they have that issue with John Kleinberg, right? To
Mm-hmm.
where they know he's not going to re-sign there in the off season unless he can sign now for like 8 years, $8 million a year kind of
Right.
thing.
Yep.
He wants his payday. And they're like, well, we should probably trade him. And then it's like, well, but we're playing better right now, so we could kind of maybe make the playoffs if we play well. And it's like at some point you're gonna have to fish or cut bait and be like, nope, we're
Mm-hmm.
selling. We're getting
Yep.
rid of one of our top four D-men, get something for him, or nope, we're gonna hang on to him and try and make a run with what is not a Stanley Cup contending hockey club.
Which that's
Oh,
almost
you know,
worse. AEC Montreal. So yeah.
it's either be really bad or be really good, but don't be in that middle because you'll spend a long time there not knowing which way to go.
Oh yes, yes you will.
So
So should we just give them a question mark, or what do you think? Good,
for the
bad, or
for the last month, they get a good,
yeah? Go
and that
7-3 is
might
worth
be.
something. So
Like, they seem to be a team that can run off 6 wins in a row and then 5 losses in a row and then
big losses too.
rinse repeat.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it's kind of
so
head scratching.
yeah, I don't get that team. There's
Neither
talking
do
maybe
I.
they'll fire the coach. I don't know. They got their problems to figure out.
They do. They really do. So go to the next team who doesn't really have problems to figure out. Be Minnesota.
They do not have problems to figure out. They are very very fine right now.
Mm-hmm.
Much better than I expected. I didn't think that their
Yep.
surprise success from last year could carry over into this year,
Mm-hmm.
and it has. And this is also the year where like they kind of got to go for it because the next couple of years, salary cap wise, with the buyouts they did this
Oof.
last off season, are going to tie their hands pretty tightly.
Oh yes.
So you better do something this year, Minnesota, because it's going to get harder and harder to make anything happen in the next couple of years.
Indeed. Indeed. But yeah, good for now. Good for now, which takes us to Nashville.
So they've been surprisingly good this year. They had a very mediocre last month.
Ooh, yes, they have.
They have not. They've not gone totally hot. They've not gone totally cold. They've just kind of mellowed. And now's maybe the time of year where you kind of mellow. Around the All-Star break, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
nah,
Yeah,
whatever. The dog days of summer in January.
right. It's summer somewhere, right?
Yeah. So I haven't been impressed with their last month, so they can actually probably get a bad.
That's what I was just to say. You don't really want to be sliding right now with St. Louis breathing down their necks.
No, because this is the point where like you're starting to leave the door open for somebody to make a run at your playoff spot,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the time of year you want to be adding a little bit of extra padding between you and anybody that's around you.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Yep. All right. Bad for them, but how about St. Louis? How you feeling about them?
Oh, St. Louis. I I think they're still good. You know, they don't they don't captivate me very much.
Nope.
I I, I know there was the whole first part of the year there was talk that Tarasenko requested a trade and he hasn't rescinded it even though they're playing well. I don't know where that's at now. Like, do we think that Tarasenko will be traded off of a playoff team? Like, I I don't know.
Right?
It's going to be very interesting because you don't want to lose him for nothing in the off season. But he's also cooled off as a player. Like he's not putting up the numbers he was at to start the season.
Right, yeah. It's kind of a head scratcher what to
So
do.
this is why you're supposed to sell high.
Uh-huh. So, yeah. I'll be
Sell
interested.
before they get injured. Sell before they cool off.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think he'll be one to keep an eye on, see what happens in the next month or
So
so.
St. Louis is a meh. Good, better, or meh.
Meh.
And
We can give him
meh.
a meh. Yeah, I like the meh. All right, and last team in the Central, we got the Winnipeg Jets.
That's ugly.
Yeah.
That's just you had your coach step down, step away just because the team wasn't responding to him anymore, and the next guy in has not got anything out of them. Like it's just I feel bad for Winnipeg. Again, I doomed them when I picked them to play the Islanders in the Stanley Cup. That neither of those teams is going to make the playoffs. Like neither one of those teams is going to be anywhere close to the playoffs by the time it's all said and done.
Talk about the ultimate kiss of death right there, then. Oof.
Yes. Oh, wow. Next year I'm picking Pittsburgh to play Colorado.
Oh, please do. Yes. Yes, indeed. I'm
Oh,
there for that. I'm there for that.
watch. That'll be this year's final.
Darn it, you're early.
I'm from Cole Harbor. Did you know that McKinnon and Crosby are friends in real life?
We do
With your
now.
buddy Brad Marchand? No.
We do
Yeah.
now. 17 times every game. Thank you.
Mhm. Anyway,
Anyway, moving on. Moving on.
sorry, Winnipeg.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anything else on the Central before we boogie on to the Pacific?
I think the only thing that Central was just a little note on the Arizona Coyotes, who were,
Sorry.
yeah, I think they're literally going to become the Coyotes, where you have to scavenge for everything, like an arena, because they are being, their lease is not being renewed for the actual hockey arena that they play in, and that means they had to go find somewhere else to play for life. And they're trying to build a stadium, which takes 3 to 4 years to build. So in that meantime, they've agreed to play at a college campus that, by the time it's all said and done, will probably hold somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4,000
Nobody else will let them
people
come.
to an NHL hockey game
Yeah.
for the next 3 to 4 years. That's kind of an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Of epic proportion. But that's what happens when you put hockey in the desert. There's not a lot of ice to play on in Arizona.
It also happens
And
when they
when
do
you're
weird business stuff. People don't do
when
business
you
with you.
don't pay your bills and your taxes on time,
Yeah.
it becomes an issue and people don't want you as a customer anymore, and maybe you shouldn't do stupid stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
weird, right? Who knew? Who
they
knew?
need the Michael Scott advice to Dwight Schrute that changed Dwight Schrute's life when he said, "Don't be an idiot."
Yep. I think it sums it up nicely.
So
Sums it up nicely.
now, a funny little side note is for the past couple years, I listened to a podcast called The Natty Hattie, and it was one of the guys on there was like the main beat writer for the Arizona
Mm.
um, Coyotes, and great senses of humor, great camaraderie on that podcast, whatnot. That podcast went through some changes and stuff, and now that guy is basically doing exclusively just the Phoenix Coyotes podcast, along with a couple other hosts.
Oof.
Um, but I still like the guy, and I still enjoy listening to him. So, of my podcast, I have a Red Wings podcast, National podcast, and this random Arizona Coyotes podcast. So I've heard a lot about the Arizona Coyotes this year,
I bet you
and
have.
um, they are they are maintaining dignity and entertainment value while they know they're going through a really, really rough few years.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite thing they do is they have a post game podcast they do after every single game,
Every game?
every game.
Oh, okay.
Um, they actually podcast every day of the week plus game days.
Wow, that's
Um,
intensive.
it's part of like a whole like Arizona sports um company or
Okay.
media, and so
Yeah.
there's one for the Suns, there's one for the D-backs, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Um, but what they do is they have what's called like the wheel of fantasy, and so if they've had a bad game, like say they played Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay beat them 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're like, instead of talking about this game, we're going to talk about one of the games from the Wheel of Fantasy. And they spin this Wheel of Fantasy and it lands on some other outcome. And then they do a post game based off of this fantasy outcome. It's like, so instead of losing to Tampa Bay, it's like, well, we beat Tampa Bay 7-4 tonight. So and so had, a hat trick. It was amazing, see that fight between, Kucherov and our goaltender, and they just kind of start riffing off of this wheel of fantasy and make up a whole post game off of something else.
Nice.
Um, and they save those for the really bad nights. And recently, they actually haven't had any really bad nights. They've
Oh, that's
actually
good.
played fairly competitive. They beat Colorado the other night.
I know.
Uh,
Head
it's
scratcher.
like, yeah. So for as for as bad as they are, they're not embarrassing. I feel like some of the other bad teams here are kind of embarrassing. Arizona was planned to be bad, and they're bad, so it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's my little snippet on the Arizona Coyotes playing in a college arena, being an embarrassment in that way, but maybe not as bad on the ice as we thought they would be.
Yeah, they still fight every night. So, kudos to them. Alrighty, so let's wrap it up with the Pacific. Who are we burying here?
I believe we're going to keep it somewhere out in the ocean,
Let's go out to sea.
and we're going to say that the Kraken is going down to the depths and it's dragging a shark with it,
I would agree. Down, down,
right
down to go.
to Davy Jones' locker.
Arr. So I guess
Yeah.
that kicks us off with Anaheim then, eh?
You know what? I take issue with Trevor Zegras and the All-Star fiasco because when they said, "Hey, we're going to invite just Trevor Zegras to the All-Star game, just for fun, as a special invite to the skills competition,"
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, we're gonna put him in the breakaway challenge where you do some sort of a trick, artistic, eventful, showy breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to fix it so he wins. We're going to fix it so that the local guy from Vegas wins. It's like, then why did you invite this kid here to pull off what was truly by far the
Oh, yeah.
best trick shot, breakaway goal we've ever seen.
Yeah, and the poor guy thought he won too until somebody had to tell him, nope, you sure didn't. Sorry.
And he finished third.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that was kind of a head scratcher. I mean, yeah, won with house money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
it's like you make a big deal out of him just to screw him.
welcome to the NHL, kid. Hope you like it. Come back,
So,
please. You bring us money.
so I made the comment that, well, won't be the first time that Trevor Zegras finishes third at this some point this year, indicating that the Calder Trophy should go to one of my Red Wings players, and Zegras can have third.
Right? Yeah. Well, at least it's in
Of
conversation
which
then, right? Yeah.
Mo Sider should win the Calder Trophy right now, hands down,
Mm-hmm.
and probably get some like fifth place Norris votes. He's honestly been
Which is insane. Yeah.
that crazy for this 20-year-old kid to come and be playing. It's oh, I'm sure if you're interested out there, folks, go find a Mo Sider highlight reel from this year. Just this year, there will be plenty on it. You don't have to go back and look at everything he did over in Germany and whatnot coming up, even though there's plenty of stuff there. Just watch what he's done this year in the NHL. It is beautiful. So, what do I think of Anaheim? I think of Mo Sider when I think of Anaheim.
All right. There we go. There we go. So is that a good
Uh,
or?
you know what? I feel like they've actually started to slip a bit.
Yep. It's a little bit.
So they probably should get a bad because I think this last month they've wobbled a bit and maybe kind of come back to the reality of like, okay, we're not one of the best three teams in our conference. We're a
Yeah.
bubble playoff team.
Although to be fair with the Pacific, it's like you have a clear number one and clear number two, and then number three somewhere.
Yeah, there's a weird knot in there. I will grant you.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm good for giving them bad and moving on down the list to Calgary.
Well, I should probably let you handle this one, bud.
I'm gonna give them a good, a very surprising good. As I said before, coming off breaks, they usually don't do well, but they're currently on a 6-game win streak, 8-2 in their last 10. So I'm like loving this right now. Yeah, I just hope they can keep this going. And they beat some good teams. They beat Vegas, and then they beat the Leafs last week in back to back, which is also kind of surprising because they sometimes do well in back to back games, but not really. So, but they pulled it off and shut out Vegas too, if I remember correctly, which was a huge shocker to me.
hmm
And then they made some noise. Was that Monday? Was that just yesterday? Yeah, it was just yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
trading for Tyler Toffoli. So I didn't expect to make any trades so soon, but might as well do it now before prices keep going up. Because the closer you get that deadline, the higher the price. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm also cautious because I've been excited for trades and free agency signings before, and that's kind of a lot of those kind of blown up. So I'll hold judgment for a few games at least and see how he does. But I mean, still seems like a lot to get for one guy. But if he pans out, then I guess it kind of works out. Because it was Tyler Pitlick, a prospect, a first round pick of next year's draft, and like a fifth round pick of the year after that, I think. So yeah, we'll see. But overall, I think he can fit right in and help out Monahan maybe or somebody like that. Get some
hmm
more scoring.
hmm So they're clearly a good.
Mm-hmm.
To that trade, which it's fun to actually have a trade not right next to the trade deadline
Yes.
because you can have a lot more focus on it, right? Because it doesn't get lost in the 17 other trades that were made.
Right.
So you get some better coverage and analysis on it, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
One, Tyler Toffoli did win a couple cups in Los Angeles under now Calgary Flames head coach Daryl Sutter.
That's right.
So there's a
Yep.
reuniting there. Um, he did play in Vancouver or a couple years ago. So he's played with Markstrom. He's also
Right.
played with Tanev.
And Lucic, I think.
and Lucic.
Yep.
Yep. So this is a guy that you're bringing in that's like, you're not bringing in a dead stranger. Like
Yeah.
the coach knows him. A lot of the players know him. It really was a really, really good fit.
Mm-hmm.
The question of the price of what they paid to get him, if you think about the fact that Toffoli still has several years left on this deal
Mm-hmm.
that he's on, you didn't trade all this stuff for a rental. You traded this for a player. This is a hockey trade, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you saw Tampa Bay do 2 years ago now is they traded for a couple guys in Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow who had term. They both had 2 years left on their deals. And they went on to win 2 cups because they had those 2 guys plus Yanni Gord as their third line. In my mind, this is Calgary basically making that kind of deal saying, okay, yes, it's maybe a high price to pay now, but we're getting this guy cap controlled for the next couple years. And he still has good years to be played on those years. It's not like you're trading for 2 years left on a 38-year-old's contract,
Ugh,
right?
yeah.
And so you have some stability then at that point. And if he's your third line winger, great. But then say you do lose Kachuk or Gaudreau or somebody
Mangiapane. Yep.
else, you know, you already have a guy on the third line that you know is capable of playing in your top 6,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you have to lose one of those guys, you at least have a replacement plan for it. That's great planning. It really is. Maybe it makes those negotiations a little bit easier on you because you can be like, no, this is our line in the sand. If you don't want to be here, we have your replacement right here.
Yep.
So it makes it easier to negotiate if you're in a strong position.
It
So they
does
gave themselves
indeed.
a strong position. So I think it was a really good move. The cost didn't really bother me. Calgary is not planning on that number 1 pick this year
Oh no.
to
Mm-mm.
help them
Nope.
win cups with their current core.
Nope. Say it's
So
top
it's
10 protected, but I'd be shocked and very sad if
oh, yeah,
that became protected.
yeah. If that if that had to be protected, it wouldn't be the same GM that made the trade making that
No.
pick.
No, it would
Oh,
not.
so um, no, and I don't necessarily know that this sets like the market
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the trades that will be made for the rest of the season are for rentals,
Yep.
right? It's going to be for guys on expiring contracts,
Right.
and the price should be higher if you're getting a guy for 2 years or two
Mm.
and a half years. 'Cause
Yeah,
basically,
that's
it's this
a good point.
season
Yeah.
plus the next couple seasons. I mean, like theoretically, Cowrie could have him this year, make a run this year, and then next year maybe it doesn't go so well, and they're a seller at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
You could sell Tyler Toffoli for everything that you paid for him last year because he's still going to have a year left on his contract at that point and have great value.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. Another thing that you remind me of is Flames do have quite a few contracts coming up. You know, Gaudreau, Kachuk, I think Monahan next year. You know, so this also gives them a little bit of leverage there too, of being like, well, if we
mhm.
can't get one of these guys to come back, then at least we got Defolier to fall back on.
Yeah, and like at least like Kachuk is at least he's an RFA
Mm-hmm.
and you know you'll have him next
Yes.
year. Johnny is UFA.
Correct.
So,
Yep. So that's the big one.
yeah. Um and I believe that Kachuk has arbitration rights, so he could sign whatever that first offer is, the qualifying offer, which I thought qualifying offer is just 1 year.
I think so. I'm a little fuzzy on how some of that works, but I believe so.
Yeah. In case like he was trying to like, nope, I'll sign 1 more year in Calgary, then I'm gonna go play in Ottawa with my brother for the rest of my career.
Oof.
What
Ugh.
the Kachucks have been trying to figure out of how to get the boys to play together, because I'm sure that's going on.
Right. How long did
Oh,
Brady sign in Ottawa? Do you remember?
I think it was an 8 year
8 year. Okay,
extension.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, I'd be hard pressed to go from Calgary to Ottawa though. Just throwing it out there. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. But if Ottawa's like, well, if you come here, we'll make you captain, then maybe it's yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
um,
yeah.
so yeah,
But
good on you, Calgary. You're doing
right.
good.
Yep. Sad. The thing too about them doing it now is heard one of the radio programs talking about how Sutter made the point like it takes a while for a guy who gets traded to fit and work with the team. So the sooner you can do the trade, the more time you have before the playoffs to
I
get that connection
believe
going.
the NBA just had their trade deadline, and their
Yep.
schedule is kind of similar to the NHL schedule. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, nope, get you guys in, and then build get your playoff chemistry going, because that's where we're heading. And yeah, you're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
a handful of games by the time this is all said and done, post trade deadline. So
Yep. So yeah, glad they got something done, and we'll see if they do anything else. So
all right.
that brings us to Edmonton.
Okay, well, if we had done this podcast a week and a half ago, it would have been an ugly. As it is, they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. They have a new coach, and
Finally.
they're playing well. And they brought in Evander Kane,
Mm.
which may still blow up in their face, but it hasn't yet.
Right? Knock on wood. It's only been, a short while.
I mean, when it
So
comes to Evander Kane, you kind of got to take a gamble.
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I'd say they're doing good. Like they're starting to turn it around, I guess, which is
Mm-hmm.
what they needed to do because they couldn't keep giving up ground.
Yay, they're turning it around. I'm so happy.
Well, if we want this Battle of Alberta in the playoffs,
Yeah, that's true.
it has to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, it does indeed. So yeah, we'll see if the new coach bump will keep going or if they'll kind of fall back to old ways.
hmm
Alrighty, so let's bounce over to LA.
LA, congratulations on your Super Bowl win.
Woo.
I do not think you will win the Stanley Cup this year, so I'm
Nope.
sorry.
Don't either.
But you're still having a good year. You
They
still
are.
probably had a good month. Um, yeah, good on them. I feel like you know, they're basically Anaheim
Mm-hmm.
at this point.
Yep.
Of a team that we said could take a step this year and has taken a step or two this year and is right there in the conversation for your wild card last place in your, top three. Uh,
Yeah.
I think they'll become a wild card if Edmonton continues to get and stay hot
Mm-hmm.
because Edmonton's coming for that spot,
Oh yeah, coming quick too.
which is how we get our Battle of Alberta,
Mm-hmm.
which is a 2-3 matchup between Calgary and Edmonton. I'd be okay with that. So,
Yeah.
Los Angeles, if you could not ruin this for us, that'd be great. Because right now you're doing good.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Alright, so let's bounce over to Vancouver.
Um,
Ooh.
I think the new coach bump has worn off,
Oh yes,
and
I
so
would
I think
agree.
they're just back to being bad.
Yep.
They were doing good for a while, now they're just bad.
Yep. Yep, indeed. So, see what they can do in the off season and try again next year. Eh?
Yeah, there's always next year for some of them.
Some might stay in the graveyard for a couple more seasons, eh?
It's a definite possibility. Oh,
But that's future cast to talk about. So,
yeah,
alrighty,
yeah,
well,
something like that.
let's wrap it up with Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. Oh my goodness. Well, just as everybody predicted,
Mm-hmm.
um, you couldn't fit Jack Eichel's contract under the salary cap because Vegas is already basically a cap strap team. And it would have to take something like some other big name player on their team to have to go on LTIR
Convenient.
to be able to fit him. Or they're gonna have to trade somebody. They're gonna have to trade like one of their top six players in order to make the room.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think's gonna happen? Hey, Mark Stone, you know that back injury you have? Yeah, what
Twin.
the one I've been playing through? Yeah. I think we should probably get that looked at
Didn't
and
that
treat
flare back
that.
up for you? Yeah. I think it flared
Yeah.
up, yeah?
Yeah. Do you think it is probably like about like a 2.5 month recovery time, I think, probably to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put you on LTIR and get you the help you need.
Seems
Hey,
legit.
Jack, you feeling good? Yep. We got a
Go.
spot for you.
Let's rock and roll.
Like, I, I love the fact that now it's just blatant. It's just so
They're not even trying to
blatant.
cover.
It's
Yeah.
like there's there's no cloak and dagger to this at all. It is simply just nope. Here's our bloody sword. We're just killing it.
Yep. We're fine. We're probably going to make it to the playoffs, so
I,
Yeah.
they're probably going to still win their division, and they don't even
Mm-hmm.
need Mark Stone to do it. And then you'll hit the playoffs, and they will be awaiting the winner at the Battle of Alberta. Like that's just kind of the way this is going to go.
Yep.
Which
So,
is it's fine. I think Vegas should be there.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
but Tampa Bay showed the way of how to build a better team than anybody else can build, and teams are just going to start doing that now, and it's
Right.
the way it's going to be.
Right.
And somewhere right about the time where the Red Wings are a good enough team that they need to start doing that, they'll change the salary cap structure. Be
Exactly.
like, no,
No.
we can't do this anymore. It's like, oh, so you let
Uh,
everybody else get away with it, and now we can't.
yep. That's
So
usually how it goes. I was gonna say the same about Calgary. By the time they need to do it, well, actually, you have to pay like a third of their contract when they're on LTIR or something weird like that. So,
yeah, yep.
but what are you gonna do? So, stamp a good on them and
Oh
keep
no.
on moving.
Oh my
Alrighty.
goodness.
So that wraps up the Pacific and the West and the league as a whole. So, any other thoughts, comments, concerns, rants you wanna, excuse me, bring up?
We didn't mention anything from the All Star game or the All Star Steals competition, the All Star break apart from the Tyler Rodriguez thing, because it wasn't worth mentioning.
Sadly,
Sorry.
no, not really.
Yeah, they just kind of failed in a lot of regards as they usually do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping it'd be more interesting because it was in Vegas, and it wasn't really.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm,
I thought it would be more interesting because the it's a different coverage package and it wasn't the crap of NBC. I was like, hey, put this on ESPN. Let's see what we
right.
got. Nope, nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope,
Sadly,
nope.
sadly. So,
Still just poorly done.
maybe next year, 10 years from now. We
Yeah,
can hope. We can hope. So,
yeah. Or just get rid of it and let's do the World Cup of hockey.
there you go. Something like that.
Like they're talking about doing that in a couple years. So
Oh, nice. Yeah.
that would be great because I really want to see that kind of a tournament.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
But
but, for now, we can just hope and see what happens.
hmm
Alright.
so if you've made it this far, we will see you again next time after the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be
Mm-hmm.
towards the about a month from now, towards the
Mm.
end of March,
Yep.
and we'll recap all the big movers and shakers or the absolute nothing that
Yeah.
happened on that day and the league up to that point.
Yes. So, until that time, we are the Hockey Podcast you're about to hear, which is dead. So, thanks for listening, and we will chat you later.
Bye.